meeting and then come up after the meeting and we'll go ahead and sign it. Okay? Well, I'm very proud to present our first speaker with us, who is Lawrence R. from East LA. No? They changed it? Just a minute. Okay. I wasn't told that. Our speaker is Deborah from Santa Barbara.
He's got seniority. He gets to stay nervous a little bit longer. My name's Deborah, and I'm an addict. And it's great to be here. This is a great convention. I love the phrase for this one, trust the process, and I totally like this logo this year. And we're just happening. Southern California is totally happening. Of course, the topic here is why settle. And actually, when I was called on the phone, I was told that the topic was relationships. Why settle? And so I did some thinking about that. And there are a lot of relationships that we have in our lives that we could talk about. What makes sense to me is to talk about the relationship I have with myself, with my higher power, with my sponsor, and intimate relationships. It's not my relationship with my grandma or grandpa that I'm going to go get loaded over, but I could get loaded over something that happened in an intimate relationship. The heart is a very fragile thing. Where to start? Stayed up really late last night, so I took a nap this afternoon and then did a little meditation, and it's that conscious contact that can help me stand up here and say a few words. And my prayer today is just that I can share the miracle of recovery with you the way it's been given to me, the way that I have it. Why settle? First of all, I felt like that was kind of like a loaded question because, my program says that I'm supposed to work on being in acceptance in my life, in my recovery. So if I'm saying, why am I settling for this? At first, it sounded to me like that sounds like not being in acceptance. Then looking at it further, it's like I didn't get clean to just get clean and just be okay. It's like I've heard it said that grateful addicts don't relapse. If I like who I am and what I'm doing, then I'm a lot less likely to get loaded. In thinking about why settle, we do settle. I say, well, it'll be okay, it'll get better, let me just wait it out. And what the topic of why settle is, it says, no, this is a program of action. I don't just wait it out and say, oh, it'll get better. I take action, I work the steps, I talk to my sponsor, I get on my knees. I was also thinking about the concept of why settle in regards to other people. And I think that's about encouraging other people. When somebody comes to me with a problem and I'm thinking, gosh, why are they settling for this? Probably the most loving thing I can do is just say, now, hey, have you talked to your sponsor about that? Have you prayed to your higher power? Because we don't have to settle. I have a theory, I call it the boxing ring of life. And in intimate relationship, I think it's really important. I think out in the real world there, we're getting pummeled enough that when we get home, we don't need to get that from a partner, that we need to have somebody in our corner of the ring. Somebody's got to be there for us, encouraging us and saying, hey, get back on that horse and ride. It's the sponsor's job to point out this person's character defects. It's the friend's, but it's not my job. My job is to be a supportive partner, and I call that the boxing ring of life. I'm not saying co-sign anybody's bullshit. I mean, I can say, hey, if you run that by your sponsor. But, so why settle? The question why settle just seems to have a lot of different faces. As far as, what do you call it, my background in this thing, I got clean in 1987 in Hollywood, and I moved to Santa Barbara, and I have 9 years now, and life's really, really good. Thanks. I was thinking about, like I said, why settle makes me think of relationships. When I first got here, what were relationships about? I wanted people to hang out with. I wanted people to, be here when I want them to be here, and then go away when I don't want them to be here. And I was thinking about when I got here, I went to what was familiar rather than what was going to be good for me. You know, and everybody's heard it suggested that we don't get involved in a relationship in the first year. And to me, that's why. It's about, I'm going to go to what's familiar. I'm going to go to what I know. I'm not going to go to what feels good, because what feels good is probably going to be something that feels really foreign. And I think that we seek out things that support us and our point of view at the time. You know, I have said in the past that you can find evidence to support any point of view you want. If I want to walk around saying life sucks, I can get a lot of evidence to support that. Or I can say, you know what, life's all right. This is an opportunity. I can get through this, and I'll find evidence to support that. You know, and that's what being clean is about. It's about a lot of choices. And also, relationships, being clean is like the starting point. That's the starting point. I can't even talk about why settle. There's nothing to settle about. If I'm getting loaded, I get what I get. There's not a lot of choice when I'm using, because my mind is focused on one thing and one thing only. So the starting point is getting clean. You know, the starting point is coming to meetings, getting a sponsor, opening the book. And you know, I really thought I was going to lose a lot of stuff in that first year. I thought I wasn't going to have any more fun when I got clean. I was just, you know, I thought that, you know, life was over. And what I found out was it was the opposite, you know. Actually, it's funny because when I turned 7 years clean, it started to mirror kind of like the first year. And it was like in year 7 up until now, I have had more fun in recovery because I started to get involved again. I go to conventions. I go to Unity Days. I go to like the NA Blues Fest, you know. There's so many things to go and do. And it's fun to party with clean people, you know, and it's fun to be here and see somebody that I might have met a year ago and had gotten into a really neat conversation with, and it's like, you know, they're still here. It's also fun to be clean. And it seems like at the beginning, you know, it seemed like out of my friends, I was the only one that was getting clean. Nobody else had a problem. Not true. It's like the seats have stayed open and other friends have come in. You know, if you stick around, it's like you may find some of your friends are here, or they're going to be here, and that's good. So, you know, I really, I was afraid. I thought I wasn't going to have any more fun. And this year especially has just opened up in terms of you know, my relationship with myself. It's just this last couple years especially has just been really incredible. I had gotten a new sponsor a couple years ago, and she had me do the first step in a different way. She had me write on 3 areas of my life that I was powerless in and that were unmanageable. And at the time, having 7 years clean, I wasn't really writing about drugs. I was writing about other areas. And what was really amazing to me is my sponsor at the time said that this program can work on any area of my life, any area of addiction in my life, but I can use it in any area of my life. And it's like I said earlier, you know, I didn't get clean to just exist. I did that when I was using. When I feel good about who I am, you know, grateful addicts don't relapse. I really believe that's true, staying in gratitude. So, you know, I started the steps over, and in my relationship with myself this last couple of years has just really been incredible. I picked 3 areas of my life that were unmanageable, and then in the second step she said, I want you to write about what is my belief in a higher power restoring me to sanity in this particular area. And what was amazing about that for me is that in one of the areas that I picked, which I'll just tell you, it was eating, because, you know, at 7 years clean, I still was having a hard time eating salads, or, you know, I liked grilled cheese sandwiches and macaroni and cheese, and, you know, that's not good. I don't think it's good brain food for me. So I felt that on some level, for me, that I wasn't really taking care of myself, and I wanted to work on that area. And also I found myself addicted to certain foods, like big old fat cookies and stuff. And, you know, this program promises freedom from active addiction. I don't want to be addicted to anything today. That is not freedom. And so in this one area, the second step, I'm writing about what is my belief in a higher power restoring me to sanity in this area, and the area was eating. And I started to write, and I thought, you know, God doesn't care what I eat. God doesn't care what I look like or any of that. And so I set the writing down, and I you know, went out to lunch, and I came back later, and I had a little awakening, and that was that God does care about what? I didn't overeat. I came back and I realized that God, my higher power, does care about me. My higher power wants me to have, you know, a clean body, a clear mind, and a pure heart. You know, my God wants the best for me, and it took me so long to get in touch with that. I, by the way, was a relapser. I was in and out of this program for like 4 years, and I think one of the biggest reasons I kept going out was I didn't think I deserved this. This is a good deal here. This is a pathway to the good life, and I knew that, and I didn't think I deserved it, and I know that's one of the reasons I kept relapsing. I did not think I deserved this thing, and when it finally flipped for me, it was a surrender. It was, all right, I'll take a year out of my life, I'll read the book, I'll talk to a sponsor, I'll do it your way, you know. But taking that year out of my life was so much fun, and it gave me a life. So this concept of what is my belief on a higher power restoring me to sanity in this area is really important, because I found out in that particular area that I didn't think God cared about that area, and then through writing figured out that my higher power does care about all areas of my life. And one of the biggest realizations I had this year, especially with the first 3 steps, is when I first got here, I used to keep hearing this thing, turn it over, and what I realized this year is it's step 3 doesn't sort of exist out all by itself. It's 1, 2, and 3. I have to first realize I'm powerless. This thing is totally messing up my life. Then I have to realize that I have been insane and that my higher power can restore me to sanity, and then I'm willing to turn it over, to make that decision, to make that commitment. And I just never got that before. I would just turn it over. No, it's all 3 things, and then I'm willing to do it. So, in the area of why settle with myself, I haven't. I'm always pushing to do more, to get more from myself. So I'm not settling in that area. I wanted to talk too about relationships in early recovery too. Like I said before, when I first got here, I went to what was familiar rather than what was good for me. And it's funny because I just did another inventory about a month ago, another 4th and 5th step. It was really, really tremendous, and I wrote about something, and that was that when I had about 3 years clean. I'd gotten married. I was married for a year and a half, got divorced. The guy I married I'd known like 13 years. We were I thought we were good friends. And, well, actually, it's kind of a humorous story. We got married, and I was encouraging him to go back to school. He had like 5 quarters to go to get a degree in college, so I was encouraging him to go back to school. And he comes home one day and says, I've got this great idea of what job to have while going to school. I'll be a pot dealer. And I'm like, and he goes on to say, people don't get desperate for pot. Right, sure. So, and then I said, couldn't you just do it for 6 months and then, get into something else? He's like, no, I'm going to do it for a couple years, He was honest. And I did settle, and that was a really huge mistake on my part. It really set the dynamic up for a bad relationship. And some other things happened in the relationship. He said that he didn't think he deserved me, that he felt that I was too good for him or something, and so because of this he had an affair, but they only met like once a month. Anyway, it would have been very easy to fall into like a victim state of mind. Poor me, I've been clean for a while, and I got married, and now everything should work out, and I also realized I thought life was a destination. Now I know it's a journey. But, that whole victim mentality could easily have come up. And through this writing, the biggest thing I got in touch with is what I call red flags. It's like I totally did not want to see the red flags, and bringing that back to getting involved in relationships, no matter what year you're in, red flags, if somebody hates their mother or their father, hates their ex-husband or their ex-wife or their ex-girlfriend, or hates it, really anyone, that's trouble. That's a red flag. I don't want to go there. And I deserve somebody who's a little further along on the path, for me. I got clean to pick up tools that work and set down tools that don't work. thank God I have a sponsor today. You know, when I got involved in that marriage, I wasn't really talking much with a sponsor. I had one, but I'd already moved up to Santa Barbara, and she was down in L.A., and I had neglected to get a new sponsor. There were a lot of things that, it was total self-will, and it didn't work out. I paid the price for it. But in getting involved with people, we're allowed to think here. Yeah, we're powerless, but, you know, my higher power gave me a brain, and I'm allowed to use it. So, a lot of good things have happened this year in my relationship with myself. You know, why settle? Why settle, for me, I got an opportunity last year, basically, to go back and finish school. Personally, I don't know if it's going to do anything for my life or not. It'd just be nice to have that, 4-year piece of paper, see what happens. I just want to be open to God's will. I have a positive attitude, I'm going to meet people, I'm going to learn things. I'm taking a history class right now that's blowing my mind. It's really cool. I really like it. I never thought that was possible. So that, again, is me not settling for what I have, It's like, whatever it is. Last couple of months, this year I lost like 25 pounds, and so I got to this place where I was feeling really kind of frail, and I didn't like it. So now I'm like working out at the gym, picking up weights and stuff, and so I'm feeling stronger. And again, I'm not settling. I'm not just gonna. Anyway, these kinds of things are all benefits from being clean for a while. It's like I know who I am, and I know what I want, and I have some ideas now of how to get it. And I think that first year of recovery had a lot to do with it, the surrender. The surrender that, okay, I'm going to pick up the book, the basic text of Narcotics Anonymous, I'm going to read it, I'm going to talk to a sponsor, and I'm going to, get some tools on how to do this life thing. I have choices, and, I can go a direction that, I thought God's will, when I got clean, they would say, like, turn it over to your higher power. I thought that God's will was going to be for me to be something I didn't want to be. Something that I could, like a librarian, or not to put any librarians down, or I don't know. I'd been involved in music. I had done the band thing and the whole music thing, and I really thought that God's will would be something other than what I wanted, and it's really been amazing to discover. It's like a cycle, it works hand in hand. It's like when I'm grateful and I feel good about who I am and what I'm doing, I want to give. Working with my sponsees, I want to give to them. They give back to me. It's incredible. There's like all these layers. In a relationship with sponsor, I want to say that in the time I've been around, I have 9 years, but I've been around for like 13 years or something. I've been through like 9 sponsors over this time, and a lot of it was in the beginning. I picked sponsors who were like too busy. I'd call them up and they weren't home, or they wouldn't return calls, or sometimes I tell this story. There's this one sponsor I called up, and I'd heard that you were allowed to get together with your sponsor for coffee, that you could connect with this person. So I called up this sponsor. I'd just gotten her. This is, years and years ago. And so I call her up and I say, I want to have coffee. And she says, why? What is the purpose of this meeting? It's like, did I know how to pick them or what? And now I know that wasn't about her. That was about me. That was a reflection of how I felt about me. I didn't feel good about me, so I had chosen a sponsor who wasn't there for me. And today it's just incredible. I have a new sponsor I just got a couple months ago. And a really amazing thing happened just yesterday. I called her at work, and she was busy and said, I'll be home after 7:30 tonight. Give me a call. And by that time, I was, doing something else. Anyway, I couldn't believe it. She called me. That just blows my mind. It's like she could hear in my voice that I just kind of want to check in, before I head down to the convention stuff. I just like to check in. Nothing big going on. And I was just very light about it, and she called me. And that to me, that's love, that I've chosen someone that's there for me is incredible. It's just so good. Earlier this year, I had another sponsor that was another what I'd have to call mismatch. I want to say that it's possible to outgrow your sponsor, and it's all right. And that's one of the things somebody told me was, you have this other woman, you have outgrown this person, and I give you permission to move on. And I needed to hear that, and it was just a mismatch, and that's okay. There are as many people as there are in this fellowship, are as many ways that there are to work this program. There are a lot of different, really, interpretations of the steps. I mean, I think we can all agree what powerlessness is for the most part, and unmanageability. But I mean, in terms of how you're going to write about it, or how, things to do with defects, what you're going to do. There's just hundreds of different ways to do it. I had a sponsor that used to sponsor people who lived out of state. If you're in a small area, of course, probably everybody down here, I'm up in Santa Barbara, but probably a lot of you from larger areas. But if you're from a smaller area, it's like, don't give up hope. There is a sponsor out there that's right for you. I really believe that. And like I say, as I have gained, I guess you'd call it self-love, more self-love, better and better things have come to me. We all get a shot at this recovery thing, makes me think about a higher power. I love in this program how it's a higher power of my own understanding. I didn't walk in here and somebody tell me which God to believe in, or even use the word God. I mean, God's in there, but higher power is there as well, implying an openness. I know, as sure as I'm standing here, that if I'd walked in and I was told to believe in a particular God, there's one that I'm thinking of, that I wouldn't be standing here today. I'd rather have died, because I thought that, because it was a punishing God. And I'm just so grateful. And I'm, sometimes occasionally I'll hear somebody sort of identify their God, and I feel bad about that, because it's like a newcomer walking in should never feel bad about the God that they have, or feel that, I even have trouble with that today. Occasionally I get frightened. I think, I've got the wrong higher power. Maybe those people over there are right. But you know what? The higher power I have in my life is so active. I've said that for a while. I have an active God in my life. And I just love in Narcotics Anonymous that I get to choose a God of my understanding, and that choice can change. I thought when I got here that I was supposed to pick a God, and that was it, you were set. And what I found out is, again, it's not a destination. It's a journey, and it's incredible. I have, in fact, can you hand me that book? In the past, the journey, the spiritual journey has been kind of slow, but and the whole God thing has really evolved. I wanted to read something real quick out of step 11 that I just jumped out at me on the page recently. There's 2 sentences. It says, it's on page 109. I don't have it in my head. We may experiment with a whole assortment of practices until we find something that doesn't feel foreign or contrived. Many of us have adopted an eclectic approach, borrowing our practices from a variety of sources and combining those which provide us the greatest comfort and enlightenment. That is just so cool to me. It's a God of my understanding, and that understanding gets to grow and unfold. It's just tremendous to me. This year, I really went through some pain, and I experienced the concept of humility, really for the first time. I don't know how I skated by it for as long as I did, but in terms of being humbled or humility, I just, it's funny, actually, when I moved to Santa Barbara, I didn't really get very heavily involved in the fellowship, and one day, I made a decision to go ahead and get involved again, and when I say that, I mean, I remember what the thought was. It's like, wow, if I really get involved again, I'm going to get my toes stepped on, and I'm going to step on other people's toes. And am I willing to do that? Am I up for the challenge? And I decided at the time I was, and yeah, I've stepped on some toes, and I've gotten my toes stepped on, and it's humbling. And so now I know what humility is about, and wow, so I'm deeper, so what? That's what it seems to bring to me. So, along with humility this year, I also really experienced loneliness and insecurity this year. And I thought, you know what, there's got to be a cure for this. And the sponsor had at the time, he said, hit your knees and pray about it. And that wasn't enough for me. And what it's about, or what it became, was more about a conscious contact with a higher power. The answer, you know what? When I was a kid, my dad used to say, you want to get letters, you got to send letters. And it's the same, like with phone calls. You want to get phone calls, you got to make phone calls. So I was one of those people. Earlier this year, I would just pick up the phone and, like, maybe for half hour, get, like, 10 answering machines and leave 10 messages. And maybe if I'm lucky, I'm going to get a couple messages back. But what happened was something turned at some point, and I don't know what it was, and I don't know why it happened, but it was something I had to go through, where I was feeling really insecure and lonely. And I wasn't getting, people have busy lives. A lot of people in the program, and other friends, they've got their projects, they've got school, whatever. But I was feeling lonely. And I really got in touch with the cure for loneliness, for me, is a conscious contact with my higher power. And what that brought me to was meditation. And that's one of the reasons I want to read you that out of the book. Meditation. I need to learn to be okay with being alone. And being alone and being lonely are two different things as well, I think. But as long as I am like relying on other people, or care a lot about what other people think, or if I put my heart in other people's hands, I'm taking a risk. But ultimately, it comes back to me being responsible for myself, which comes back to, these days I don't have a victim mentality. Things don't just happen to me. I have an active part in my life. So I knew that the cure for loneliness was going to be meditation, that it was going to be kind of like a paradox. As soon as I'm comfortable being alone, I won't be lonely. And it's true. It's absolutely true. In the last month and a half, the best I can do so far is just 15 minutes a day. And it's not every day, but it's pretty close. And even if it's, 11:30 at night, I try and get that 15 minutes in. And the strangest thing is that about meditation is now I find myself in like a familiar place. And there's nothing fancy about it. I mean, there's hundreds of different forms of meditation, and that's what the book what I read you just said. You can go explore whatever you want. And that's neat. So I've explored some different things. And what's nice is no matter where I go, I can go to a familiar place where I'm going to get a conscious contact with my higher power. I want to feel good. I want to feel centered. Drugs, never got me there. A lot of different things I tried never got me there. And it's kind of like the 11th step talks about prayer meditation. Why not try that? It's like I've tried it before, but things happen on a deeper level. And also it's like I think as I've stayed clean longer, it's almost like I need stronger medicine at times. What worked for me in the beginning, certainly the basics always worked, but what worked for me in the beginning doesn't necessarily always work today. On how I really feel inside, I need stronger medicine sometimes. I like to go to meetings outside of my area. I love coming back down to LA because I'm really able to hear the message. I got to this point in my fellowship up in Santa Barbara where sometimes I can't hear the message because I know the personalities fairly well now, and somebody recently told me, shut your eyes. Don't look at the person who's talking. Shut your eyes, and that way you can allow in what it is they're saying without letting the personality get in the way. And I really needed to hear that. I really believe that over the years that this program can stay fresh and alive, and it's up to me to take the action to do that. Every new person I meet has something to say, or a different outlook on a particular step, or I hear something that I'd never heard it that way before. And half my job's just to stay open to that, open-mindedness. It's one of our spiritual principles. So I definitely had to talk about, why settle with a God that's like sort of there for me when I can have a really great higher power that's there for me all the time, and that's what I have. And one of the neat things that came to me in a meditation recently, this is really cool, I should share this. I was sitting there, and all of a sudden, I've heard they've done these studies, like if they put pictures in front of people of like mountain scenes, the fresh air and pine trees, that your biochemistry has a reaction to that picture. And then if you put another picture in front of the person, it's like an urban scene, a city with a lot, that there's another biochemical reaction to that. And so I was in this meditation, and I started envisioning like a forest, and and I was imagining, feeling the sun coming through the trees and the warmth, and smelling this really fresh, clean air. And I did this all in this meditation, like I went somewhere else, and it felt really good. There's just so many places that I can go with this conscious contact thing. Like I said, on a daily basis, I'd like to feel good about who I am, where I am, and what I'm doing, and that's one of the ways to get there. The miracle of recovery has just been so ingrained now in like every area of my life. There isn't any area that hasn't been touched. Like I said, I was afraid when I got here that I wouldn't have any more fun anymore. I have a lot of clean people in my life now who like to go and do the things I like to do. I never thought that would happen, and it has. It's kind of like, your tribe is here. Sometimes it takes a little work to find out what area they're living in. It also means looking past the exterior, seeing the spirit of the person that's talking. When someone is new and newcomer, it's so important, in my view, to sort of see the person that person doesn't know they are yet, and to acknowledge the recovery within. It's like important for us to acknowledge the recovery within each of us, even the recovery we may not know we have yet. I found that when I treat people with respect and as though they've got something going on, they feel better about themselves and they blossom into those people that they want to be. It's really a we program. We're all pulling for each other. We all have an equal chance in here. If anyone's having any problems in the relationships with yourself, with your sponsor, with your higher power, there are solutions. You're at a convention, poll some people. Hey, how do you deal with this? What do you do about that? It's all available. There's so many things that I could touch on, that I could talk about, but I feel done right now, so I'm going to stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Okay, and next we have our second speaker, and that is Lawrence R. from East LA.
Yeah, my name is Lawrence. I'm an addict.
Hi, Lawrence.
And I'd like to welcome you from the door in to the door out. For those who want to leave, you're still welcome. I'd like to thank Deborah for sharing. I know the relationship that I've settled in Narcotics Anonymous has been my relationship with Narcotics Anonymous. I have settled with Narcotics Anonymous. That's the only answer I could come up with. When I was asked to participate in this workshop, I was I'm nervous. So I tried praying. I still got to keep praying, but I'm nervous, and it's okay. If I wasn't nervous, I would feel kind of like I'm well or cured or something. But that has been the relationship that I settled with in Narcotics Anonymous. When Cliff told me, the topic of this workshop, relationships, why settled. This is it. I have settled to be in a relationship with Narcotics Anonymous. And the way I interpret that is that I have made a commitment, to be a member of Narcotics Anonymous. And what does that mean? It means various different things, It means that I stay busy within the program, that I continue to work with a sponsor, and that I continue to be available to be a sponsor, that I continue to be of service. Those are the type of things that has been the most consistent thing for me in Narcotics Anonymous in terms of relationships. That has been my most consistent relationship. And what's ironic about it is that, I was in Santa Clara at the past convention, and at the Northern Regional Convention. And they asked me to speak on the same topic, on relationships. So, I guess there's a message here, And the message is that, you know, that I still have a lot of work to do in this area, and I've have done a lot of work in this area, you know, and I know that, you know, the disease rejects recovery, you know, and you know what Deborah was saying about, you know, if you're looking at me as the messenger, you're going to miss the message, you know, especially if you have a problem with yourself and you want to blame it on me. So, you know, I have been one that I have been tolerated here in Narcotics Anonymous, you know. I have been myself. I have had the opportunity to be myself. You know, I have had the opportunity to be controversial. I have had the opportunity to be a radical. I've had the opportunity to stand for something, you know, and I've had the opportunity to learn from as a result of standing for something, you know, and that's okay with me. Boy, I would sure love to have a hot cup of coffee. Tell you, I was drinking all that water. I feel like running to the bathroom right now. But you know, I had been in some relationships in Narcotics Anonymous. When I came to Narcotics Anonymous for the first time in 1978, and I didn't stay clean. I kept coming in and out, in and out, in and out. And I finally settled in 1982. So this past July I celebrated 14 years. Don't mean nothing. Doesn't mean anything. You know, I mean, it means something for me. It really does. But when I came here, I was a young man. You know, it's really young. I'm still a whole lot younger than some people. But I came here and I was quite young. You know, I was younger than I am now. And who would have thought? Who would have thought that I would have been growing, and that I would grow old here in Narcotics Anonymous? You know, who would have thought that? I mean, not grow old, but I am growing old. But I never thought that I'll make it to this age. You know, I really didn't. You know, I never thought that I would live to see, to be, you know, the age that I am. Anyway, so I was talking about the relationships that I have been in, and I want to concentrate on the relationships that continue for me. Those relationships that I still have, you know, and I have a lot of relationships with other recovering addicts. All right, that's the man. No, that's just black. It'll be fine right now. Thank you. Maybe it'll warm my blood up, you know, and I'll stop shaking up here. Anyway, I've been here for a little while, and I've had 4 sponsors. The first sponsor that I had was a man. Well, actually, the first sponsor that I really had was a woman. Before I got to that man, so to speak. You know how you do. You know, you see somebody with a couple of more days than you ask them to be your sponsor, right? So, I'm so nervous. Anyway, this, I don't know why I'm nervous, you know, maybe. I shouldn't be nervous, you know. I should just be able to talk, right? Talk freely. But I can't. I'm nervous. Anyway, it's good to hear people laugh. It's really good to see that. It's really good to see a lot of people that I see here. You know, a lot of people that I know. A lot of people, you know, Bobby, of course, you know, really, really special woman, you know. Some people that, for me, Saleh, you know, that been there for me, and some people that we sort of like crossed paths at one time, you know, and even shared some space and moved on from there. It's really good to see those people. You know, but what I'm trying to talk about is my first relationship was with a man. You know, and I think it's very important for me to talk about that because I think a lot of us, I know when I used to come to these workshops, you know, when I was, you know, kind of going to conventions, I know some of the exercises that sponsors used to tell me to do was, you know, go to a workshop, and if you hear somebody share really something that you feel that you could identify with, pull them aside and talk to him. You know, and that's what I used to do. I used to go to, you know, the workshops and listen and talk with people and meet people. You know, and I've been to a lot of conventions. You know, and I used to be of service at conventions. You know, but my first relationship with this man, the reason why I'm bringing it up because it was the first time I was able to actually, you know, like put my punches down and start relating to somebody else, you know. And this man was very spiritual. He really helped me with the spiritual side. And I was young, in recovery. And he taught me how to work the steps. First time I ever worked the steps was with this man. Lived in his house. Boy, lived in his house, in the basement. Me and a couple other sponsees. And I remember that basement because, man, you know, when it rains in New York, I got clean in New York, just in case you don't know. And when it would rain in the basement, it would flood up the whole basement, you know, and the bed would be floating. And I remember that. But one of the things that happened was that this man became like this. He became, I'm trying to say this without not bringing anything in. He became this person that began to practice a certain religion. You know, and what happened was I started to distance myself from this person, from this man, because he was starting to enforce his morality on me. And I think it's very important for you to find what your morality is. And the way you're going to find that is, you know, by working the 4th step. You know, that's the way I found mine, you know, and so I had to separate from him, you know, because I didn't disagree with what he believed in, but I just didn't want to believe in it, you know. And what bothered me was that he was trying to make me believe the way he believed. And I think, you know, that's not freedom. You know, you have the freedom, you know, of choice, you know, to find what's really going to work for you.